Okay, so we're going to continue on with our zero game project, and I've already got my display, got some instructions in. So in this, what we're going to do is we're going to create our array. Here's our array already there, private int numbers. It hasn't been sized and it hasn't been instantiated. It's only been declared as a list. So the first thing we need to do is we need to populate it with the numbers 0 through 9. Well, there's a super easy way of doing that. We can use an initializer list. An initializer list lets us declare our array and set in the values all at the same time. So I'm going to set it to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. No comma after the last one. Sorry. So at this point, my list has been declared and it's been instantiated and it's been populated with all of these values. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is mix the numbers up so they're out of order. I'm not going to do that yet because there's another step I want to do first. Let's just see if these numbers display. In order to get them to display, we have to code our toString method at the very bottom of the screen. So what I want it to do is I want it to return back the numbers in the order that they are in the list. Then that way when we mix them up, we'll be able to see that it's indeed mixing up and all the numbers are still there. So if I'm going to start off with a string, just going to call it str and set it equal to nothing, and then I'm going to go through and iterate through my list and grab each value and add it onto the string and then add a space. So in this situation we can use a for each loop. A for each loop says iterate through the entire list. My list is of type int. There it is. So I'm going to declare myself an int variable. If our list were of type string, I would declare a string variable. If my list were of type person, I'd declare a person variable. So it's whatever type your list is. And I'm going to call it I, since that's what I always use. And the list is called numbers. So there we go. This is now iterating through numbers, and I is equal to every single position at the list one at a time. I is not an array, so I don't have to use array notation. I can just say str plus equals I, and then I do want to put in a space. That way I can see, dang it, I can see where the number begins and ends. I know, it just makes it look pretty. Come on. Okay, so now my string is done. All I have to do is return my string and it will display all of these values in the label. So let's go over to our display just so we can make sure these numbers are showing up. There they are. They are still in order. My right, left, and flip still doesn't work because we haven't coded them yet, but at least my numbers are now showing up in order. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put them out of order. Mix them up per se. So I'm going back to my zero game. Coming up here. Okay, in order to mix them up, it's easy if we have this little swap method that will allow us to switch two places in the list. Okay, I want you to think about, how can I describe this? Suppose you have a glass of milk and a glass of orange juice, and you want to keep those, but you got to switch them cups. We're going to call this swap method. Well, what would happen if I took the cup of orange juice, and I want to put the orange juice in the milk cup and the milk in the orange juice cup without getting any milky orange juice anywhere? Well, in order to do that, you have to get another cup. There's no way you can just throw the two things up in the air and expect them to somehow magically land in the correct cup. No, I'm going to get a third cup. I'm going to pour out my milk, rinse out my cup, pour the orange juice into what used to be the milk cup, rinse out that cup, take that temp cup, and I'm going to pour back in. I have to do the same thing with swapping two positions in my list. I'm going to swap position 1 and position 2. So here, I'm going to create my temp cup. I'm going to call it int temp equals, and I want to take whatever value in my numbers list, I'm going to say numbers, but I'm going to get position of this first position. So position 1. So now I've basically taken the milk and I've poured it into the temporary cup. Pour the milk into temp cup. All right. Next thing, now I can rinse out my temp cup, or this position. So I'm going to say numbers of position 1 equals, I can pour my orange juice into this cup now. So I'm going to say numbers of position 2. There it is. So far so good. So now I've got temp and I've got my orange juice in here. All I have to do is pour my milk. Let's put our comment in. Pour OJ, that's not OJ, into my first cup. Milk cup. There we go. Okay, can you do the last statement? I need to fill my milk cup, or wait, excuse me, the orange juice cup with milk. So I'm going to say numbers of position 2 is equal to my temp, because remember I poured my milk into the temp cup. There we go. So this swap is now done. I can't really tell because I don't have anything that's calling swap. I'm going to swap the values here so they're out of order. Okay, so now I can do this little mix-up. I don't just want to assign random numbers in this situation, because if I do, then I might get 2 2s or 2 1s. Instead, I'm going to put all of the values in and then mix them up, kind of like you're shuffling cards. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do a for loop. And it doesn't even matter how many times I do this for loop. I'm going to do it 200 times. That'll work. For I equals 200. No, I got to start at 0. I equals 0. I is less than 200. I plus plus. If I call that swap like 200 times, it will mix up the values in my list. So I need a random one. Okay, I need my random number to be one of these positions in the list. So anywhere from 0 to 9. Or in our case, we could use the length method of our numbers. That way, if we wanted to resize and add more numbers to this list, we could, because you could keep going on and on if you wanted to. So here I'm going to say numbers.length. No open close parentheses on the end of length like there is on string. Okay, I do want to do the same thing with the second random number. So here I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a random 2. And now all I have to do is call my swap that I've already created. R&D1, R&D2. Okay, at this point, assuming there's no syntax errors, I should now have a mixed up set of numbers without any like duplicate 2s or duplicate 1s or anything. There it is. 1, 5, 3, 7, 8. Hey, my 9's actually in the correct spot. That's okay. It just is the effect of random. Okay, catch us in the next video and we will get these flip right left buttons to work.